keeping me safe.
Once again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for going last. It's always a little bit harder to go last after everybody's mind is already full. But I do think, I guess, what you're working in and what you're doing right now and building is vitally important to the future of the industry and where we're heading. But before we get into it, are you able to just quickly tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're doing, I guess, and how did you end up in a digital business?
Thanks for that, Andrew. So I'd hate to say this, but I'm about 20 years of history of encapsulating all banking and financial services. So I hate to say that because it keeps reminding me that I'm getting older, not necessarily wiser, but older. But look, I think I've had a wonderful journey with my background. I've played in personal lending, commercial lending, and strategy, and building out new strategy markets for banks and businesses. I guess I won't bore you with my CV on. Check me out on LinkedIn if you guys want to engage. But I guess I am qualified to speak in the broker space and the banking space. It's not because of just 20 years. I've been in the roles. So I've been broker, banker, media advisor, advertiser, banker, broker, and now a fintech-er, I think. But I think they call them finnies, I think. But I think about, I suppose, what is the next trance of need in our industry? And the thing here is that I think about the industry that I love, which is banking and third party. And look, you know, I've paid a third party as a broker and a banker, and I helped NAB build out their commercial broker strategy back in the olden days. So, you know, I'm very in touch with it, and being part of NAB, you know, Plan, Choice and Advice was part of our blood as well. So when I thought about adding value to the industry, it's like, what is it that the industry is missing? And when you're looking at the industry of 16,500 brokers, what's the next evolution of that? And I guess I'm very interested in the fact that we're talking about the digital broker today. So what does the digital broker today look like? It's about I believe it's a bit of an industry disruptor. I believe that consumers are wanting a faster paced engagement with brokers and lenders. And they're also putting more trust in the online solution, and that's evolving, right? So particularly in the next generation as well, where there's not a lot of brand loyalty. In reality, people are so desperate to get into the housing market, and they want to borrow for their first home. So it doesn't really matter if it has a nice brand to it. It's the fact that it has to carry and tick a lot of boxes for their personal needs. So I suppose that creates a bit of a profile for the online customer. And what does that mean for the broker industry? So I guess, you know, we're moving from, rather than a feet shopping situation where traditionally, you know, consumers will, you know, go from one office to the other and hear what they want to hear. And now they prefer to click and receive, right? So, yeah. And what that means is that, but they still want the warmness of the relationship management piece as well. And I think that's where brokers go really well, because, you know, at the end of the day, brokers are 24/7. It's their business. So therefore, the customer piece is so valuable to them because they believe in investing in relationship in that journey.
So just a question off the back of that, because now you're talking about this digital native customer, and I guess there's almost a profile of what that person looks like. The person who wants to go direct, they want to click a button somewhere, they want that quick service. I guess as a broker, where you're sitting in maybe an office or in your house, or you're in a retail space somewhere, how do you find that person? Well, where are they?
Yeah, so a lot of us aren't very good at finding that person. And I think that's a very good question, because we've all, as brokers and business owners, delved into our own marketing and trying marketing ourselves, signing up, you know, partners, or going out there and actually doing it ourselves, which we're not good at. So the thing here is that, you know, they're just like the mixed world of banking, where there's so many sectors and so many products and services out there. You know, media and marketing is a totally different ecosystem and a different planet in my world. So, you know, I think, you know, we kind of need to then, you know, I think as brokers, we need to trust what we're good at. but also trust finding the right sources to find the right customers for us. And the customer ecosystem now is that, yes, they're online, they have a certain profile, but not every profile is the same, right? So that's the reason why we have different tiers of lenders. We have different tiers of brokers specializing in different fields. And then it goes back to the fact that if I'm an old-fashioned broker, so I represent broker when broker industry was worth 6% in the marketplace. So, and now we're over 60% in the marketplace. So that's a pretty cool thing to live through. I feel like a bit of a dinosaur, but it gives me a bit of perspective on where we need to start thinking as customer acquisition in our broker businesses. So, there's 16,000 brokers out there in the marketplace. And the other thing is that the traditional referral sources are your, accountants, solicitors and lawyers and real estate agents and all of that. When there's 16 and plus thousand brokers in the marketplace, plus lenders knocking on those guys' doors and asking for the same kind of profile customers, where do you go? And in reality, it relates back to the digital world. So we know that consumers are now changing their behavior, they're clicking and wanting, and then it's becoming a bit more of a fulfillment answer to the consumers online. So I guess, digital services has become quite apparent, particularly in COVID lockdowns. People are liking the results of that. And that's not only from a consumer side, that's also from a business side. And going back to your question, Andrew, about, if I'm a broker sitting in the middle of nowhere or working from home, how do I go out and find those customers, right? I need to start engaging on the digital platforms that are available to me. But at the same time, understanding the nature of that consumer on that platform, that they're not the ones that, that will come to your door and sit in your office for 20 minutes and give and listen to your pitch. You also need to, critique what your online pitch is, critique what your phone pitch is, and I suppose provide a unique selling point to who you are. But the added value of, I suppose, the digital side is that the consumer is shopping online, they're sitting in the comfort of their own home, and they are more advocates of brokers these days as well. Yes. So the thing here is with brokers, we tend to forget that we do have other sort of resources out there to help us grow our customer base. But at the same time, I find a lot of our brokers actually find that the opportunity is not just working within the space and the territory that they're in. They're not limiting themselves to that anymore. They're actually opening themselves as a national business.
Yeah. Well, that's something I find quite fascinating as a major change I've seen, possibly in the last 2 years, is one with the rise of or the enlarging of the slice of the pie that brokers take. No longer is just lenders or going direct our competitors. Our competitors is other brokers, and then the rise of, we talk a lot about social media, but one thing we don't talk enough about is online marketplaces. So where people go to buy. And traditionally Australians were a little bit lagging in that space behind other international markets. Although we would use it when we go overseas, but when we come home, we want to go back to face-to-face. But during the pandemic and being in lockdown, it's kind of changed our behavior where people have embraced digital marketplaces, places where I go to shop. And with that, and I understand that Joust kind of sits in that space too. Like, there's people no longer just go to the accountant, the financial advisor for advice. Where do people go to get educated, to find things out, to and look, and there's an element of that where social media plays a part with social media influencers, as in who do I follow, who do I trust? That's a big change, and I think one of the challenges for brokers now is the fact that it used to be who's on their street, who goes to their local pub, who's a part of their golf club, where now your customer could be anywhere within Australia, and how do you reach them? And I think that's probably something which Joust is working on at the moment. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, what Joust is working on at the moment to kind of create these opportunities for brokers in this space.
And why should you limit yourself to just the office that you sit in? You know, I think there's benefits of scaling your business to be a national brand, and you don't necessarily have to have an office and bums on seats these days. It's the fact that having a national-based business, it actually also encourages you to learn as a broker business as well. What's happening in other states? You know, we talk about two-speed economies, which are the states that are more popular and more volume pumped out, and where are the areas of opportunity that you could hunt in that you don't need to necessarily compete in with the volume of other brokers or lenders in the marketplace. And I think, look, Joust is a very good example of this, because we see this as a platform where we bring both lenders and brokers on an equal playing field. And what that means is that then it also endorses and creates an environment where it's about buyer's choice. I think going back to what you said, Andrew, is that, you know, customers, you know, previously, you know, have heard on the grapevine who they need to go to their home with their home loan, and not necessarily really understanding what that service offer proposition looks like. And at the same time, not being able to get a really good snapshot of what the market looks like as well. So with us, we're a marketplace. So the thing here is that you've got the consumer coming into our platform who are wanting a solution to their home loan questions, and at the same time, they want to buy that home, or they want to refi, or they want to build, or they're sole traders that are finding a need for their personal situation because they've got different lending needs. So we've got a mixture of consumers on our platform, and then we've got also a mixture of partners, such as our broker partners on our platforms, that can provide them with many layers of solutions. And I love the broker space, because you can't just talk about one or two products anymore. You are armed with 40, 50 different products that your aggregator gives you to go and play in the marketplace. And I guess when we created these platforms, I've got two platforms, by the way, but when we created this platform, is about buyer's choice, and at the same time connecting the right brokers with the right consumers, and not necessarily giving the brokers an opportunity to not get lost in the ecosystem of what digital online looks like as well. So how often do you open up a tab about researching about, let's say, home loan, for example, but if you wanted to find out about something that you wanted to buy or engage in, how many times do you have 20 tabs open and you get lost in the tabs, and then you just give up? So the platform that we've created is, it creates an environment where you don't need to shop anywhere, because you know that the best offers will be presented to you at the table. And it provides an opportunity for brokers to also see what their competitors are doing. But when you talk about the broker community, the reason why I actually love the third-party space so much is that I always believe that you create a community and then you create a movement, right? And the movement is in the fact that we are providing consumer choice. And the Joust platform is created around that, whether it be on the live auction platform, where they put their mortgage onto an auction platform where lenders and brokers bid on it, and you get to see what's happening in the marketplace, or they actually want to be instantly engaged. So that, and the thing here is that what is the most disruptive part of Joust is that we talk about data points. So I always talk about the fact that the data points drive consumers to brokers and brokers to consumers. And the smart brokers would always not ask for the vanilla type of customers, because it's becoming increasingly hard to find what vanilla is in this world, right? So I believe that the platform that we've created creates a balance in the universe of digital, in a certain sense, when it comes to buying your home loan, and also at the same time providing a service towards that.
Brilliant. Look, I'm going to take this conversation probably somewhere. Well, I'm doing this a lot, but look, this is a topic I'm quite passionate about, and if I'm out of line, just pull me back in, Annie. But I personally hate any business that is associated with being a lead generation business that sells leads. And based on my experience, and I've seen the best of it and the worst of it, where brokers spend money on purchasing leads but unable to convert it. And I think there's something that you're playing with at Joust, which puts a different lens on that relationship between broker and lead provider. In that, and this is where I think some of the true value sits with a business like your own, is not in the fact that you get a customer live, comes to you, you engage with them, or you say you get 10 leads, eight of them you can actually make some sort of contact with, 5 of them are somewhat in the market, and maybe 3 might do business with you. Like that whole, have to talk to 10 people to get 2-3 loans. And I understand why some people avoid that. But what you're able to actually provide, and we're talking about building our own digital communities ourselves, is the data that you have on these customers, where you're collecting 14, 15 points of data, and you know exactly who that customer is and what they do. Having your own database of these customers and allowing and actually purchasing that data from someone else, that you're then able to nurture those customer relationships, invite them into your own online communities, and then build from that, is that I think that's where the future's heading for brokers. One other side point, which is a trend I'm seeing right now. If you looked at the MPA's, the Advisor Magazine's top 25 brokerages, in that top 10, the top 5 all had acquired another business or merged with another business in the last 12 months, which I thought was very, very telling for, I guess, where the industry is going, where it's similar to what happened in the legal fraternity, where rather than just you have Bob Jones solicitor, all of a sudden they started adding multiple solicitors into the one firm and being these big multi firms where they don't all work together. And if you've ever been in one of their offices, they don't even get along. But they recognize that by pooling resources and collaborating together, they could be more effective at building communities that generated business for all of them. They could share in that. I think brokers, we're heading into the same space where we need to be a little bit smarter about who we play with, and don't become isolated in a world where one person on their own is not going to be able to build an online community or obtain data or compete into that digital space unless they have partners. And I see Joust as like kind of one of those partners that you can, yes, there is an immediate byproduct, which is you may get a customer and settle a loan today. Fantastic. But you also get an opportunity to work with Joust and building your own custom community by knowing exactly where those customers are that you want and engaging with them, where without the likes of a Joust would be very difficult to do so. What's your view on how Joust can help a broker build their own customer database or community?
Yeah. So to your first question, your first point, Andrew, is because of the fact that when I looked at this business a while ago, and because of the background I've come in with, I have knowledge of, I guess, the heartstrings of what a broker wants, right? And at the same time, the words lead gen, I mean, it has come to a point where it's actually not a great term to use. And at the same time, the thing is that there's certain businesses that fall upon that, and they're great businesses, right? So you can't tarnish that word leads gen, brush with everybody. But at the same time, what leads gen hasn't done well in the past is provide a name and number, for example. Someone who's buying a fridge doesn't necessarily want a home loan, for example. And we don't sell telephone books, by the way, nor do we have data scrapes, or do we go out and market and set up call centers in the middle of nowhere and just cold call and just pester customers, for example. So I guess, we wanted to bring that digital lens onto customer acquisition. But at the same time, whilst we build that out and whilst that digital universe is evolving, you want to make sure that also the expectations are intact as well. Right. So the thing here is that when you talk about leads gen is good when you've got a good customer and a good broker on the other line. The other thing is what you talk about is that we need to craft ourselves with a greater mindset of not just going, well, I need to buy a stack load of leads and this is how much I need to make. It's about building a sustainable business, right? So the thing here is that what great brokers do is they build pipeline and they build sustainability. And what does sustainability look like? So what I see in our space is that I'll see some brokers that will go, I'm short of business this month, so I'm going to buy a stack load of leads, right? And it's not necessarily planning out what a marketing campaign should look like. and what you're targeting at. You're just asking to open the floodgates of hell to come in with anybody that will want to talk to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas with Joust, we believe that it starts with data points, and it starts with conversations around what those data points are. And at the same time, it talks to the fact that even when you do get a great lead through the door, it's not necessary you pick up the phone and go, hey, I heard you want a home loan. It's more along the lines of understanding what the customer's goals and objectives are. And that will then also guide your conversation of where that customer will sit in your sales pipeline, right? So I think that, there's probably three main points around, what brokers should be investing in when it comes to marketing, for example. I always believe the always on approach. So always making the marketing landscape of acquiring customers always on in your business. And therefore, then you can also then plan out and map out your resources and talent as well. So therefore, when you're on the phone with a consumer who only has about a 3-second attention span, you can actually talk to the right reasons why you're calling, right? And then the other thing is that you need to, we as brokers need to understand the digital nature of the customer and also shape and mold what we're targeting as well. So say, for example, the hot environment at the moment is about refi, because we know that interest rates are going to go up. We know that there's going to be a change and shift in mindset in the way that consumers are going to start looking for their home loans online. And we know that they're going to be pretty much facing into the broker community for it, right?
Yeah.
And then therefore, then why would you then go, well, I want to talk to everyone in the marketplace? Wouldn't you then target more refi customers, because they might be more higher intent customers, and at the same time they have a need that they want to talk to someone about? So I think we as brokers, sometimes we're very good at what we do, which is customer relationship management and writing deals. But I guess leaving the digital acquisition of customers and marketing to partners that will ensure you what kind of volume they can deliver to you. And making that a strong, going back to what I love about the broker space is that the nurturing side of nurturing customers and investing in that customer journey. You might talk to the customer today and they might not want anything from you today, or there might not be a solution for them, but it doesn't mean you write them off, right? It means that you put them into your pipeline, and that's what we do well as brokers, and we nurture those relationships along. I think there's a lot of emphasis that we put on, I guess, digital acquisition, for example. We think that every customer is going to convert. In reality, if you know that if customers are not loyal to